Okay, now I know what show we doing. If loving you is wrong, I don't want to be right. Season 5, episode 4, chest pains. Bear with my voice. So this series has been really, really good so far. Oh my goodness. So this one opens up with Esperanza calling Lucian, and bear with me, I'm looking at my notes because I was so much going on. And basically, Natalie is on the other end, and she's basically talking about how she tired of them calling, but she not joking, but she for real. She joking and she serious. Like, stop calling my man. Every time you need something, stop calling him. But anyway, so Esperanza was telling her, telling when she got on the phone with Lucian, telling Lucian about how all the fighting and stuff went on between Steven and other guys outside of her house, and she really felt like Eddie was behind it, and then she just didn't like the fact that he left upset with her, and she was scared that he was gonna get hurt, things like that. So Lucian was like, jokingly, but he was serious. He was like, look, he a bad boy. He gonna be fine, whatever like that. And so Esperance was basically like, look, what I really need you to do is go down to the little pub to make sure he's okay. So Eddie Gooms show up back at the pub, basically talking to him all beat down. They done ran up on what's his name? Steven, and got their ass whooped. And so basically Steven ended up showing up after that, and the guy that runs the bar was like, look, we don't need, we already had a brawl in here. I don't want none of that going on. Steven was like, look, it ain't gonna be a brawl, it's gonna be an ass kicking. I was like, yes, get him together, let him know it ain't gonna be no big, situation. I'm just gonna be his ass right quick. So Lucian purposely took his time going down to the bar situation, because he was like, look, I'm gonna give him time so he can whoop his ass the way he needs. I was like, oh, okay. So he get there and he ended up breaking up the fight, and he was like, look, Eddie, just leave him alone, let the situation go. Now going into the other situation with the guy Larry, and I can't even think of the other guy's name, but anyway, Larry goes to him and basically like, I know you're not trying to, the other guy, the one that was messing with Marcy for a little bit, the one that liked her to live across the street, moved across the street, she sold him a house. You know who he is, whatever his name, I forgot. Anyway, so he basically walked in and had the files of what's a young man named Travis. And Larry walked in and noticed, because they both lawyers at the same firm, and he was like, I know you're not trying to get rid of these files. And he was like, well, he's not my client. And he was like, well, he's yours. But he was like, well, do you know Kelly tried to commit suicide? And he was like, well, you already know that we represent his family. We've always represented the church and things of that nature. So Larry demands the files back from him and basically threatened to get in touch with the bar association about him, I guess, being unethical or whatever the case may be. So he basically threatened the man's career as well. So when he handed him over, I guess he was just like, okay. And then he told him basically he better not have no copies or no kind of funny business dealing with that file. And he handed over and he called him a good boy, which was really, really strange. But anyway, moving on. Kelly's still in the infirmary. Poor Kelly. She in there handcuffed to the bed and things like that. So she was trying to get them to loosen the handcuffs. And one of the inmates was like, they don't care. I don't know why you keep calling them. They're going to get you. And basically making accusations about her, uncalled for comments about her suicide attempt. So in comes the chaplain, the so-called chaplain of the church. of the hospital, and well, the prison. And she basically says to her, she wanted to pray for her, and she was like, well, I really, like, basically, I don't need you to pray for me. And come to find out, this particular chaplain is familiar with Travis's family. Of course, it's a big congregation. They're very familiar and popular, apparently, in Maxine. And the lady was like, well, the lady was like, saying stuff about girl, and that not Natalie. Kelly was like, well, if you're a woman of God, you would pray that the truth is revealed to you. And she was like, I already know the truth, that you stalked him. But one of the messed up things she said before she walked out of there, she admitted that there were other females that, had issues with him. So that piece of information is going to be able to be used. So Alex started getting text messages from Dr. Raston, and basically she like, look, I got a problem. They're opening a investigation, the board at the hospital, and I need you to come down here and let them know you lied because you put me in a bad situation. Basically, you told your husband that I lied, and I changed the DNA results and stuff like that. So basically, so Alex agreed to do it, as she should, because she was dead wrong. So she then started going into a conversation asking the doctor, have she ever heard, the possibility of the child being her husband's? And she was telling her about a situation where she has had patients where they went further down in the genes and the baby was redheaded and 2 times over and all that foolishness like that. So basically, in so many words, she like, look, well, the baby is clearly mixed. So she was like, well, do you think it can go back a couple, generations? So I guess she gonna go get a DNA test on her husband's name. Girl, I don't know. Anyway, so Eddie go visit the doctor after he got his ass whooped. And basically the doctor was like, okay, nothing broken or whatever like that. And he was like, well, I know where that. He was like, well, give me some pain pills. So he prescribed him something. And when Eddie saw it, he was like, man, I'm a cocaine addict. And the doctor was like, well, I can report you. And he was like, well, I can report you for doing my colon exam too long. He was like, I ain't never do that. He said, but that's what I'm gonna tell him. So the man started going here. He was like, yeah, I need you to write me 2 or 3 scripts. That way I can figure out what I want to take. So the man started writing. He wrote him a few scripts. Then he snatched the man's pen and his pad before he left. This Eddie. So I'm just glad he got beat up finally. Like somebody put some pause on him. Some consequences was issued, something. But anyway, so Kelly is with the nurse, and what's that? She ended up asking, well, oh gosh. So Eddie ended up seeing Kelly out in the waiting room or whatever in the ER. And so he was like, how you feeling? And she was like, leave me alone. Basically, she's trying to get him to leave her alone. He was like, yeah, he told her that she bought a house for 1 man and killed 2 men. I was like, listen, Eddie ain't worth a dime, okay? So then he says, she was sitting up in there looking like a farm animal. I was like, why she gotta be all that? So, Rick walks in, he tells Eddie to leave Kelly alone. And he finally gone by his business. So he basically ended up signing up to be her guard for the night, with her being out at the hospital. And basically, in so many words, he told her to tell the nurse that she was having chest pain so she could go to another facility to get better care and to actually speak to some other people outside of the prison with an unbiased opinion, like, real psychologist or whatever, for her mental condition. Um, Rick informed her that he worked security at the church before, and that he might, be able to come up with some other information or whatever to kind of help her case. And when she found out he was security before, she was like, leave. She really, really wasn't feeling that. And she also shared with him what the chaplain told him about there were others. So Esperanza ended up calling Lucian to see if any update about what was going on with Stephen, because she was concerned about Stephen. So Natalie ended up answering the phone, and basically he wasn't there at the time. And she was like, what are you doing with Stephen? You already know how Eddie is. He gonna continue to act a fool or whatever the case may be. It's not a good look. And she was like, well, you need to try to talk to him, sit down and talk to him. She was like, you think I'm really gonna be able to talk to him? So she was like, okay, well, I'm gonna try. So Esperanza made the contact with Eddie and actually, try to talk to him. Of course, he's talking all crazy and reckless because he always had on something, making it seem like she wanted him or whatever like that. So, and he made a comment about what's this guy name? Steve, and being a dork, and she was like, yeah, that dork be joke, way. And so they were able to come to an agreement to have lunch or whatever so they can talk to one another. That's gonna be interesting. So she gets off the phone with him. Somebody started beating on her door. She was like, I know you, won't sit out by my house, Eddie, da 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 da. It ends up being Steven. And Steven wanted to apologize for, when they got into it or whatever earlier. And she wanted to apologize and to him too as well when it comes to the situation with Eddie. And she was like, I really just don't want you to, I just don't want you to be angry with me, and I just want you to hold me to that, because I've had a lot of situations in the past that basically ended because they got tired of dealing with Eddie. So Steven basically was like, look, the man is an addict. He always hopped up on something. And she was like, really? And I was like, how in the world? Everybody in Maxine knows he gets high. Anyway, she said, I just don't want you to hold this against me. He was like, look, I'm going home. We good. And they was good from there. So, so, Lucian ended up talking with Rick, and Rick was telling her, like, look, I took her down here, got her to go down to the other hospital to get, a better evaluation and things like that. And they got off the phone or whatever. So he was basically, Lucian would have a conversation with Natalie and was like, well, I'm trying to understand, maybe he feel guilty. And he was just like, I'm just trying to figure out, it's kind of strange how far he's willing to go. And he basically said he was going to find out why. So all in all, this was a really good episode. Had a lot of twists and turns already in like 4 episodes. I'm excited Eddie got his behind whooped. I'm hoping that he's really going to be able to get it through his head that Esperanza don't want him, but I doubt it because he's still on drugs. I'm hoping Kelly gets the help that she really needs, and I'm hoping that people are really, really going to help her a little bit more, and especially when it comes to that lawyer. And I'm hoping the other lawyer had some backup documentation, because that will really, really help. But he's smart. I'm pretty sure he has something on his sleeve. The guy Rick, I'm kind of on the fence when it comes to him, because there's so many people that are cool with the families. And even when the chaplain came in, I was like, Lord, she ain't gonna try to do nothing to Kelly, is she? So yeah, I wonder what was crazy Randall at this episode. And where was the neighbor? So maybe we gonna see them next week. But anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed my little synopsis of what went down this week. And I look forward to seeing you guys next week.